Do you have English learners or students in general who are struggling with early literacy? Students who, regardless of their age, are falling behind where you would expect them to be in literacy levels for that age group. Now, we always talk about this in K through 2, absolutely, because we know what the time frame should be. And when a student starts to fall behind what we expect, we get a little panic inside, right? The data is shared in meetings and there's charts and graphs and red marks, and it's a lot, and it's a lot of worry and concern because not only are we accountable for all those data and red boxes all over the place, but we know that those literacy skills are the key to the student's future. The literacy unlocks the content, unlocks the materials in the classroom, the textbooks, the worksheets, the assessments, the directions, just everything crucial. We also oftentimes have older students who just have not had the school experience, have not had the instruction or exposure, or have not lived in a place where they were able to take advantage of literacy instruction and teachers and schools and all of that. So regardless of the reason, that panic is real inside us of what do I do and how do I get them going? There's also that feeling of, I've been teaching reading for 10 years. My students are always on grade level. Like, rarely do I have someone that I don't have, like, they learn this, they do that, they come in at this level, and when they end second grade, they're at this level, and boom, I've done my job. Now I have students, and that's not happening. Right? All of that leads our teacher hearts to feel like we're failing students sometimes. It leads us to frustration of, why isn't this working? What is wrong? And honestly, it often leads to, it must be a special education issue, right? The same instruction that works for everybody else is not working for little Sally. So let's go to special education. Before we go there, before we panic, before we jump to conclusions, not even jump to conclusions. I mean, by this point, you have good reason to be concerned. So I wouldn't say jump to conclusions. Before we start looking at special education or beating ourselves up or blaming a child, I want to share a perspective with you. It's what I call hold part, right? This idea has been called a lot of things over the years in education, but there's a lot of research and practical experience, my own personal experience of others that I've worked with, that can create a big difference in your level of success with students who are struggling with early literacy when we are using traditional methods of instruction. So in traditional literacy instruction, we start with small pieces, and then we build on them, and we build on them, and we build on them until we're reading, shorter text, longer text, novels, and so forth, right? Very part to whole. We look at letters. We're identifying letters. We're learning about sounds. We're learning about the sound-letter connection. Then we learn how to put those sounds together in CVC words. We read real words. We read nonsense words. We then start combining them with sight words or high-frequency words. We start making sentences, and we keep growing and growing. All right, now here's a paragraph. Now here's a page. Now here's a short text, a level, depending on, this lower lexile level to the higher lexile level 4 to level 12, all the ways we decide what level a text is. And that's what we have done for generations. That's how most of us who are teaching now learned. And when it doesn't work, or when the magic isn't happening, what do we do? What we tend to do is do more of the same thing, or do the same thing again with a specialist or an interventionist, or reteach, but I want to save you some time and worry and frustration. Doing more of the same thing when it comes to an English learner who is not picking things up that way, it's still not going to get you where you want to go, right? It's not working because it's not working for that child. Doing more phonics and doing more isolated skills isn't going to get you there. I am not saying at all, I'm not saying don't teach phonics. I've had that come back and like, no, of course we have to teach phonics. What I'm saying is we can't just do more of the same and think we're going to get a different result. So here's the way I want you to do a mind shift, right?